In this short tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can export Houdini meshes to Maya using the Alembic format. So we'll start by creating a geonode, and I'm going to call it H2M for Houdini to Maya. And inside, I'm going to create just a very simple set of meshes. So I'll start with sphere, and I'll rename it sphere. I'll add a box, and a cylinder or a tube in Houdini. So the process is relatively simple. So first of all, I'm just going to make sure that they're all visible somehow. So I'm just going to move them around. So I'll put my box over here. You can see my sphere. And I'm going to take the tube and I'm going to move it to this side. So it's going to be there. And then I'm going to merge them all. And you can see all three objects. Now, to simply export this to Maya, what you will need is a render operator that will render the Alembic file format. So you can press tab and type Alembic, and down here you're going to see ROP, so render operator Alembic output. Just click on it, put it down here, connect this, and then figure out where you want to save your file. Now there's a couple of options in here that we're going to look at, but first of all, let's just do the basic version. So in the output, just going to double check here that it's saving it to where I want, and it is. So give it a name. So I'm going to call this base output.abc. So you have to put in the name of the Alembic file, which is .abc. Click accept, and once you have it, all you have to do is click on save to disk up here. So click on that, and it should take a split second. You should be done. Now to make this work, I'm going to open Maya. So now we're in Maya, and I'm going to I'm going to import this. I'm going to load it, and here you can see all three objects that we had in Houdini brought in. Now, if you look at the object itself, you'll see the name that we gave it, so base output, and then there's a colon, and then H2M. The H2M, if you recall, is the name of the geo object that we gave it. When you select it, you're going to see all three objects basically as one. If you click on display and show the shapes, you're going to see that they've been all merged into one single shape. So here's the merge node. That was the last shape that we used. If you want to separate it, what you're going to have to do is, turn shapes off, is go back to the original shape, go to mesh, separate, and now it's going to give you these three objects, polysurface 1, 2, and 3, but you'll notice that they're still linked. So in order to be completely independent object, you're going to have to select this and go to edit, delete by type, history. So remove the history from them, so you can see that they're now under this group, and they're now individual objects that you can manipulate. The centers obviously are going to still be at the origin, so if you want to snap the center back onto the object, you're going to have to modify center pivot, and that's going to bring the pivot point onto the object. So that's the most basic way to import it. So again, if we jump back, you have your 3 objects, you merge them, put the ROP Alembic, and then you're kind of left to the whims of the program. And again, as you see, it's going to give you these 3 objects with any just random polysurface names that you're going to have. A slightly better, actually a much better way to do so is if we continue with our original setup, but this time we're going to use a few nodes that are going to help us actually organize this. So I'm just going to put caps on the tube. Just going to move it back here so they're better aligned. And what we're going to do is the following. So I'm just going to cut all of these for now. First of all, I'm going to put in a name node. And what the name node allows you to do is basically provide a name to an object that you can then export. So for example, this one, I'm going to create an attribute for all my objects that are going to have the same attribute, but each is going to have a unique name. So the attribute that I'm going to give it, and again, you can pick anything, but this is kind of standard, it's going to be called class. Okay, so we're going to put all these objects in a class, and the name we're going to give this one is going to be mSphere. Okay, we're just going to use the M prefix in front of each one of them, and we're going to call this one mSphere name. We're going to do the same thing for the other 2. So name, press Alt so you can duplicate it and create another one here. This one is going to be mBox. And again, click on it, change the attribute to class, and the name is going to be mBox, connect, and last, this one is going to be class again, attribute is going to be mTube, and connect. So we have these name nodes in place in here. And what you can see is if you go to the geometry spreadsheet and you click on each one of these names, you can see that there's an attribute called class, and each class has its own unique name attached to it, right? So all the primitives, right? So we're in the primitive mode in here, so all of them have the names attached to it, so that just makes everything a little bit cleaner in terms of keeping track of things. Then I'm going to drop merge node, and again select merge all 3. So now you can see all of our objects in here, and if you scroll down you should see basically sphere, the box, and the tube, and they're all merged into a single object. Now, the trick to get this to work properly is we're going to need to write a wrangle. So let's put in an attribute wrangle and call this one ABC export. And I'm just going to connect that down in here. So in order for this to work, we're going to first of all run it over the primitives, because this is where we're at. We're in primitive mode, so go to run over and select primitives. And we're going to create basically a path that is going to allow us to export this all these objects into formats that Maya can read. So we're going to start by creating an attribute called it's a string attribute. So we're going to start with the letter S at path. Okay, so S for string at path is equal to, and we're going to call, remember in the name we had a class attribute, so we're going to call that. So you're going to say string at class, so we're calling the class attribute from the name, plus, and we're going to put in between quotes a / and close this. So what this does basically is it allows us to take a path that grabs our class and puts it in here, and you'll see why this is important in a second. So just to make our lives easier in Maya also, so we don't get ugly renders, I'm just going to drop in here an auto UV from Side Effects Labs to give us the illusion that we're UVing something. And I'm also going to throw in some normals, so this doesn't look too bad. And I'm going to set the vertices to normals. And finally, we're going to bring again our Alembic output. Okay, so what we're going to do this time is, before we click on Save to Disk, and again, I'm just going to give it a name here, so base prims rather .abc, click on Accept. What I'm going to do before I click on Save to Disk is go down where it says Build Hierarchy from Attribute. This is really important. When you click on it, you're going to see here the word path. So if you remember, we created this string attribute called path. Okay, this is why we do that. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but here it's already built for us, so it's called path. So once you have that, and you click on Save to Disk, so let's open Maya again. So here was the original. Just going to hide this. I'm going to go to File, Import, and base all primitives. Just going to load this up. So look at that. We have our 3 objects. Okay, but now, as opposed to before where they were all as one clumped object, we have them now as separate objects. I mean, they don't have their name yet, but if you click on Display Shapes, under the shapes, you should see the proper name. So for example, this one, it comes in as polysurface, but you can, if you go to the shapes, you're going to see the shape is box. This one, polysurface 2, should be the sphere, and this one should be the tube. Okay, again, you'll have to select them and modify center pivots to bring the pivots onto the center of each one of them, but that's how they work. Now there's an even better way to do that, where you can have them, rather than come as polysurface with the shape under it, you can actually bring the shape name right on top. So to do that, I'm just going to delete them for now, including this one. Reset. Let me go back to Houdini. So when we go back to our wrangle, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of extra to the line in here, and we're going to add plus at class plus, And this is really important that you spell it exactly the way I'm spelling it. It's open quotes, capital S, H-A-P-E. Okay, it has to be spelled like that with a capital S shape, because this is what Maya is going to be reading. If you don't have the capital S in it, Maya is going to return an error. So shape has to be with a capital S. So once you've added this extra little bit, you can go back to your Alembic file, and this time I'm going to call it base all prims underscore shapes, and I'm going to click save to disk, open Maya, and file, import, and prim shape, bring it in. See, so now when you select them, so again, center pivot, if you look here, you have M-box, M-sphere, and M2, right? So they have their names. Now, what you see in front of it, this is called the namespace. Okay, so whenever you import files from usually another program where they're merged, Maya will tend to add a namespace. You can also add the namespaces yourselves if you're referencing files and so on. But if you want to get rid of the namespace, what you can do is go to Windows, General Editors, and down here towards the bottom, you're going to see the namespace editor. So if you click on it, it's going to show you the available namespaces that you have. So this one is base all prim shapes, so you can select that. And you have a few options in here, but the one that we want, if you want to get rid of it, simply click on delete. It's going to give you this warning that's going to say merge with root, with parent, delete, etc. Just merge it with the root. Click on close, and you'll see now that the namespace is gone. So you got your box, your sphere, and your tube. Okay, so this is the easiest way to bring individual objects directly from Houdini into Maya. Now there's another way that can also be beneficial. For example, if you don't want to bring them as individual objects, but you do want to bring them, say, as a group with these individual objects within them, all you have to do in Houdini is go down and again go to the wrangle, and in front of this S class you can put any other name that will be the actual group name that goes before the class itself. So for example, if I call it, I open quotes, / if I say H2M, close quotes, and put a plus, H2M, okay? And it's important that whatever name you give it, you have to kind of bracket it between the / So you put a / in front, the name, / afterwards, and then plus, and then the rest of the path. You'll see here in the attributes, so you can see all the objects, and you'll see that all of them have the H2M in front. So H2M, then M-box, M-tube, etc., and the shape. So again, I'm going to go back to my ROP, and this time I'm going to call it, H2M done. And again, this is really important. Build hierarchy from attributes. Make sure that this stays selected. Click on Save to Disk. And when we go back to Maya and import the file, click and import. Now you're going to see that they're all under the one group. Okay, so H2M done, H2M. So again, it has a namespace. And then when you expand, you're going to see the box, the sphere, and the tube. Again, modify center pivot for each one of them. And if you want, select them all. Windows, General Editors, and Namespace Editor. Click here, delete, merge with root, close, and there you go. So you have a group called H2M. Okay, and then you have the individual objects underneath it. And that's it. Very simple, straightforward way of importing files from Houdini directly to Maya without losing your details. And again, just make sure that you keep this wrangle, because this is where all the magic happens. Thank you.